They say the wind still howls his name across the frozen cliffs, long after his blood soaked into the snow. On the final morning of his life, the Wolf King stood alone on the ridge, staring into an army that had come to erase his name from history. He did not pray, he did not beg, and he did not flee. He tightened his grip on his sword and waited. The Wolf King was not born to a crown, nor was he raised in halls of gold. He was the son of a hunter who lived where the forests met the ice, a land ruled by wolves rather than men. From childhood, he learned that survival was earned with scars, not promises. When winter came, it did not spare the weak, and neither did the world. Legends say the boy was found one night among a pack of wolves, unafraid, his hand resting on the neck of the alpha. Whether the tale is true or not, the name followed him for life. Men began to call him Wolfblood, then Wolfborn, and finally the Wolf King. He accepted the name without pride, knowing that wolves did not rule by titles, but by strength. His rise began during a time of shattered clans and endless raids. The North was bleeding itself dry as chieftains fought over land that could barely feed them. The Wolf King saw what others refused to see. Unity was the only path to survival. He challenged rival leaders not with speeches, but with steel. One by one, the clans fell or bent the knee. Some followed him out of fear, others out of respect, and a few out of hope. He let each man choose, but betrayal was met with swift and final judgment. Under his rule, the North became a single fist instead of scattered fingers. The Wolf King ruled from a timber hall built atop stone and bone. He shared meat with his warriors and slept among them rather than behind guarded doors. He listened more than he spoke, and when he spoke, his words carried weight. To his people, he was not just a king, but a shield against the chaos beyond their borders. That shield would soon be tested. Beyond the mountains, an empire had risen, fueled by conquest and greed. Its rulers saw the North as an untamed prize, rich in iron, fur, and slaves. They sent envoys first, bearing false smiles and poisoned words. The Wolf King refused them. He knew submission would mean the slow death of his people. When the envoys returned home empty-handed, the empire sent something else. It sent war. The invasion came like an avalanche, unstoppable and deafening. Villages burned, fields were trampled, and rivers ran dark with ash. The Wolf King answered with raids that struck like lightning and vanished into the snow. For years the war dragged on, each side bleeding but unbroken. Age did not spare the Wolf King, but it did not weaken him either. His beard grew white, his scars deepened, and his eyes hardened. He had buried sons, brothers, and friends beneath frozen ground. Still, he refused to surrender. The final battle came when betrayal opened the gates. A rival lord, promised gold and power, sold the path through the mountains. The empire marched in full strength, determined to end the war in one blow. Wolf King knew there would be no retreat this time. He chose the ridge where stone met sky. It was narrow, steep, and unforgiving, a place where numbers mattered less than courage. Behind him stood the last of his warriors, tired but unbroken. Before him waited an army that stretched beyond the horizon. The Wolf King spoke only once. He reminded them of who they were and what they had survived. He told them that legends were not born from victory alone, but from defiance. Then he raised his sword, and the howl of the North answered him. The clash was brutal and relentless. Steel rang against steel as men fought not for conquest, but for existence. The ridge became slick with blood, and bodies piled against the rocks. Still, the Wolf King stood at the center, cutting down enemy after enemy. An arrow struck his shoulder, then a spear grazed his side. He broke both shafts and kept fighting. Every step forward cost the invaders dearly. Every step back was denied them. As the sun dipped low, the Wolf King stood wounded and alone. His warriors lay fallen around him, their sacrifice sealing the ridge. The enemy circled cautiously, fearing the man who refused to fall. He met their eyes without hatred, only resolve. When the final blow came, It did not take him by surprise. He fell to one knee, planted his sword in the earth, and refused to collapse. The enemy struck again and again until silence claimed the ridge. Only then did the Wolf King fall forward, facing his homeland. The empire claimed victory, but it tasted of ash. The cost had been too high, the resistance too fierce. Rebellions flared across the north, inspired by the king who would not kneel. Within a generation, the empire withdrew, its power broken. Long after the hall rotted and the ridge returned to snow, the story endured. Skalds sang of a king who chose death over chains. Parents told their children that courage was louder than fear. And when the wind howls through the mountains, some still swear it carries a voice. It is the voice of the Wolf King, standing his final watch.